Hello and welcome. My name is Njenga Hakina, and in Africa, the donkey story is not just an animal story, but it is intertwined with climate change, resilience, adaptation and livelihoods, women's rights and empowerment, as well as the African people's survival. In China, the donkey is a source of beauty and youth and big business largely. The contrast is that in Africa, the donkey is worth more alive, while in China, it is much more valuable dead, driven by the demand for health and beauty products enriched with argiel, a gelatin made by boiling donkey hides. On February 18th, an announcement that would reverberate across African countries and most of China was made during the 37th Ordinary Session of the African Union Assembly when heads of state met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The meeting was to ratify a number of motions, including the donkey skin trade ban. More than half of the over 1.3 million donkey hides China imported last year came from AU member countries, showing the urgent need for laws to protect the hardy animals from extinction. After the ban, I spoke with Jude Riziki, who works with the Kenya Network for Dissemination of Agricultural Technologies, KENDAT, to curb donkey poaching in East Africa. All right, and I know that KENDAT in Kenya has, in fact, you have been for a long time being referred to as the donkey people, and you have been in the processes of policy making in terms of protecting our donkeys. And we have seen the reduction in numbers. We have seen the slaughter that has been going on as late as, last year, towards the end of last year. From where you sit and from where you have been in terms of policy making, in terms of protecting the donkeys, where and how will Kenya implement this?
First and foremost, what we've done in the last few months, there have been a very large amount of donkey slaughter in the bush because the government already banned the abattoirs. So these people are going to the bush to slaughter these animals. So some used to be bought, others were stolen. But now we work with the enforcement agencies, the police, the chiefs, to make sure that we are also giving them an opportunity to understand that this is a vice, that this is against the animal welfare of the donkey. So it is also against the CAP 360, but we came to realize that the law on CAP 360 is a little bit lenient on the perpetrators of donkey hide trade. So we encouraged the enforcement to use the penal code. So that is what has worked in Embu County, in Kiambu County, and the cases have reduced in the recent few weeks. We can say it's a little win for us, yeah.
And when you say capital, the penal code, that means that the crime or whatever is happening with those who are poaching donkeys and slaughtering them for whatever reasons are treated as, criminals. And this is a capital offense, right?
Yes. That is what I mean, because when we tell the enforcement agency to use the penal code, they go and charge these people with, is this the right way to carry the meat? Now the Meat Act comes into place. Is this the right vehicle to carry the meat? The Transportation Act or something like that comes into place. All these things into one to just frustrate their business so that they cannot continue doing it, in terms of seeing the CAP 360 as a lenient part of the law, but the penal code is more harsher.
And if I may ask, because I don't have the numbers, and probably you have them, how far have we come in terms of probably the donkey population's increase? Because I know that towards 2016, we had about 1 million donkeys. Have they increased or have they decreased? And could this poaching have contributed to that?
Yes, the donkey population has decreased because of the bush slaughter. According to the Karo census for the animals, the population was about 1.6, but when the slaughter was initial, and when the slaughter was actually active in the abattoirs, we lost around 1.2 donkeys to slaughter. So the numbers of donkeys has really decreased, and it could get to extinction if this was not done by the AU, because the donkeys don't really reproduce like cows and goats. They have to be really stress-free to reproduce. So these are not animals that you can put in a herd or put in an enclosement for production. They are not production animals, they are draft animals. So the moment they are confined in a place so that they can reproduce, the stress levels go up so they don't reproduce. So that is a research that was done by the Donkey Sanctuary. And now that came up with the solution of just frustrating the donkey slaughter, the hide trade, because the donkey slaughter was already banned in Kenya.
You have mentioned the reduction, and in terms of now what the AU has said and proposed that countries do, or passed and made it a ban, from your perspective, where you sit as a policymaker in terms of protecting the donkeys, how do you see your participation and involvement in enforcing this even further to ensure that we protect our donkey populations?
KENDAT works closely with Brook East Africa, who are our donors with the Donkey Project. So Brook East Africa works really closely with the government in terms of advocacy and policy making. So that will be a great avenue for us to champion for the ban to even be implemented by the government in Kenya. And that is going to be a very good start for Kenya, especially with Brook East Africa as the champions of this.
When it comes to some of these cases, happening and increasing and growing, we know that corruption plays a big role in that we know who is doing this, but we won't arrest them because, hey, somebody is getting a kickback somewhere. These cases that you have in court, you cannot talk about them, but you can speak generally about the trade because it is illegal largely. How much and how big a role does corruption play in enabling these illegal trade to happen?
There was a loophole where that the donkey slaughter was banned, but the donkey skin trade was not banned. So what AU has done is ban the skin trade, which will now frustrate these people, these cartels who are doing this for trade, because these skins are actually taken overseas for some medicinal values that are not backed up by data. They are just rumors. So it has made the donkey population in this continent and in this country go down really fast. So there are people, yes, that frustrate the operations, but in any government, I think that is something that we see every day, right?
All right, and probably there is somebody who is wondering why is this important? I mean, donkeys, what do they do? Why are they important? Maybe you can just tell us why donkeys are important and critical to the African landscape, especially for the smallholder farmers.
Yes, donkeys are very, very important in the livelihoods of those people who use it, especially in the ASAL areas. So these people use their donkeys to fetch water for commercial purposes, for home use. They use to transport building materials, fetch firewood. So they use them for both home use and commercial purposes to get their day go by and fend for their families. So when a donkey is stolen from such a farmer, they are just crippled.
Thank you very much, Riziki, once again, for allowing us to have this time with you and for your insights. And again, we are grateful. We look forward to taking this conversation forward.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.